Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome back to Real Reds Talk, an authentic football fan channel made in Manchester. This is your Sunday social, and the topics we have got for you people today. It's not going to be a Sunday social unless it's an absolute banger, is it? Let's be clear about that. We're going to talk about Andy Mitten speaking about Marcus Rashford. We're going to talk about INEOS yet again making more cuts. Lisandro Martínez to leave Manchester United. Is that an option for people in terms of, we'll discuss it. And also, André Onana is a topic of discussion. And we're going to talk about Nuno Mendes because I don't feel like I've had a chance to really kind of get round to that yet. So they're going to be the topics for today. It's quite a wide range of different kind of stories, so it's going to be a bit of a roller coaster, a bit like this, a bit like the Pepsi Max. Oh, we got a few loops in there, a bit drops, etc. So before I dive into this INEOS story, which was kind of popping off, I just want to remind people of their first year in charge at Manchester United. Okay, so this is INEOS so far. So they extended Erik ten Hag's contract, which we all knew, and then ended up sacking him, which cost the club absolute millions, probably around 15 to 20 million pound mark if you want to speculate those numbers. They then, they appointed Dan Ashworth in the midst of the summer, costing millions, and then sacked him. We've had unprecedented ticket price rises, so £66 and above, even if you're a kid or an OAP, it doesn't matter. It's £66 or above, despite you're not watching, elite level football. You're watching a bag of shit on the pitch, basically, and getting charged a lot for it. So I think that's something to obviously add on to the list. Mass redundancies is something that hasn't been spoken about a lot, to be fair, because of the amount of stuff that's happened since INEOS has taken over. It's just kind of piled on. But yeah, mass redundancies, sacking, over 250 people. We're overseeing the worst on-field results since the 1980s, not to mention all the other cuts that they've made. The list of like little tiny ones where they're trying to save money, but then you look at the wages some of the players are earning, you look at the bonuses they're getting. You really dive into it and you're like, it makes you feel sick a little bit. And I think it's time, because it is the end of the year, we're going into 2025, you want to reflect a little bit since they've taken over and kind of what have they done and what impacts have they had and what was they briefing to Man United fans like myself and like you people, or maybe you're not a United fan if you're watching, which is absolutely fine. But what was they saying to you guys when they first took over? What was the briefing? It's about the fans. It's about you. I'm from Failsworth. I'm a Man United fan. I was there. We won the 99. I understand what the club is all about. And then you listen to the list of things that I've just mentioned, and from a hard-nosed businessman who doesn't really have a lot of love for the club, you can kind of understand it. But that's not the image that he was portraying when he was taking over Manchester United. He might need to make these, cuts to make a certain level on PSR, or to make the club watertight in terms of financially how we're doing. But you can't tell me, cancelling Christmas parties and giving them M&S vouchers. How much is that fucking saving? In reality, a billionaire who lives in France is talking about cutting money, saving money for the club and giving him M&S vouchers. Like, it's weird, isn't it? It's dead bizarre. Now, I'm not saying the grass would have been greener on the other side, because don't forget, Qatar were the ones in the race with INEOS, right? And Qatar bid, I think it was a couple $100 million less than what INEOS did. So they didn't want to bid as much. They was talking about blowing all these competitors out of the water and never did such a thing. And also no proof of funds ever provided. So like I said, the grass isn't always greener. Just because, Qatar as a country or as a royal kind of sovereign, they have all this wealth and money, doesn't mean that they're going to be successful. I mean, you look at Everton's owner, who the Freaking Group have just taken over there, but Mashura, I can't remember the guy's name, but the owner of Everton pumped a lot of money into that club. Are they successful? No. It's got to be done the right way, but it just feels like INEOS, everything they're doing. And this is where the story from today comes in, by the way. I'm not just, rambling for the sake of it. So apparently Sir Jim Ratcliffe has cut funding to the Association of Former Man United Players, which is a trust supporting low-income ex-players. United previously donated £40,000 a year, but the last 2 payments have not arrived. Now, that last line is a little bit weird. Like, he was expecting it, and they've just not sent it. Surely, Sir Jim, INEOS, etc., have communicated this over to him and said, it's not going to go through. Not, oh, well, you're going to get paid today. Oh, no, it's not going to. They've not sent it. I doubt it's happened like that. They're not that fucking unprofessional. But this just goes to show, this adds to the list of things that we're all talking about and we all discuss. That INEOS, you know, let's not forget the Glazers still own the majority of Manchester United, okay? INEOS have come in. When they first took over, there was I got a lot of pushback and a lot of shit from people who were saying, well, it's the right thing for the club. He's British. He'll put the United back, Manchester back in United, and all these things, right? And I got really like ridiculed for it when I was speaking. When I was like, well, I've got my concerns about INEOS, and people didn't want to hear the concerns about INEOS. He was like, oh, well, you know, it can't be worse than Qatar. You know, sports washing and da da da. And that side of the argument about Qatar, I understand. You know, you see the whole kind of thing ongoing with Saudi Arabia at the moment and the World Cup. There is, of course, there's an element of sport washing. Like, forget about what we do behind closed doors. Look at this shiny thing here. Look how good this is. How does it make you feel? All the people that are working, you know, basically slave labor, don't worry about them. You know, you get treated a certain way if you're a homosexual. Those kind of things, like, no, brush that under the carpet, but look at this shiny sports thing. Look at Riyadh season. Look at this. That I take into account 100%. So I'm not disputing that. But I'm just saying, when INEOS first came in, if you look at what had happened at Nice, if you'd done your research and seen the scramble of what had went on with like these board of directors and different managers coming in and the recruitment policy being a bit mad, and then you've got a geezer who's been very successful in sailing, cycling and these kind of things, but has never really been successful at a giant club like Manchester United, which has swallowed some of the most world-class managers, players to ever be there. It's a different beast. So you're damn right people had fucking concerns about them coming in. And right now, we're sat there looking at it, reflecting, thinking, this is where we're at in a minute. We're 13th, 14th in the table. We've got Newcastle, Liverpool next. Like, you know, you could genuinely, you could be talking about a relegation battle. You want to talk about finances, that is absolutely catastrophic for Manchester United. So I even doubt, and I don't care much about how the Glazers feel, but I doubt they're happy with Ratcliffe, the way everything's ongoing at the moment. Now, people will throw back the argument, and I'll get into comments in a moment, that it's going to take a while, that it's going to get a bit ugly before it gets better. We're going to have to go through the storm before we see the sunshine. But the thing is, you can go through the storm, and you're not always guaranteed that there is sunshine on the other side. We went through a storm. We've been through a storm for the past 10 years. And I feel like every year there's been some sort of a brief, or there's been some sort of forced hope that, yeah, it is going to get better. You know, United will bounce back. But will they? Will they? Will INEOS be here for years, and then it just doesn't work, and then they part ways, and then it's back to the Glazers again, and it's back to square one? It's not. It's a possibility. I'm sorry to start the show so negative, but it is a possibility. Steph, big up Nick and Real Red Talk Legends. Hello to you, Steph. I hope you're okay. Do get involved in the comments, by the way. There's loads of people in TikTok. I'll get into them comments in a minute, and I'll get into others as well. United is really close to going bankrupt. The cuts actually make sense if you look at the financials of the club. It's not fun that this is happening, but it needs to happen. I understand that. I get why they would do it, and they've got to make uncomfortable decisions, but it doesn't... They have leverage if they're making sensible decisions that back that narrative. So, for example, like, keeping Erik ten Hag on and then sacking him and bringing in a new manager, that alone probably costs more than every cut they've made. Do you know what I'm saying? Than every cut. That cost around, let's say, 20 to 25 million pounds, right? With that decision that they've made. I think raising ticket prices to £66, whether you're an OAP, whether you're a kid, whatever it is, for 1 year, probably £1 million that you're saving. These staff, the cuts that you've made to staff, let's say you get rid of 250 staff members, on average they're on, I don't know, 20 to 30k a year, let's just say. Again, that's not even touching £1 million, is it? Or is it maybe close? Let's call it 1 million just for the sake of it. Go to any other like this £40,000 a year that they've. You can add them all up. It doesn't even get close to the decision that they made with even sacking Dan Ashworth, which cost millions, and Ten Hag. You know, so yeah. Gilesy, do you think City will lose today? No, I think today's the day where they 250 times 30k. Okay, well, let's do the math. If my math is off, I'm happy to do it. 250 times 30,000. 750k. There you go. 750k. That's how much they save from getting rid of 250 staff members. And one of those people, my brother knows. He knows the person who's left. Who's like head of PR there. So Mendes and a centre mid would be nice, but who? I'm going to get on to transfer stories shortly. Brian Casey, who's been a member for 19 months, all whilst working, all whilst doing his own channel. Appreciate you, brother. Merry Christmas and Happy New Year to everyone at Real Reds Talk, and to you, and to everyone else in the chat, and to everyone in TikTok as well. Appreciate every single one who's been along with us in this journey. And look, we're getting close to 10k now. It's going to be a big celebration. Just over 250 subs until we hit 10k. And yeah, it's going to be a celebration. There's going to be shows. There's going to be a couple of surprises along the way. There's going to be merchandise ideas. So cannot wait to hit that figure. Yeah, it's 7.5 million. What is 250 staff members? Is my math off again here? 250 times 30,000. Oh no, yeah, that's 7.5 million. Even still, my point stands. It's still less. I said it was less. Ten Hag cost 20 to 25 million to sack him. Getting rid of those staff members, 7.5 million. Still less. Still half. Less than half of it. People being pedantic. My point still stands, okay? Dobbert Ord says that's Rashford and Casemiro's wage per week. Very sad. This is the thing that I agree with, right? And I think you should, because obviously when players like Casemiro and Antony are making millions per month, we sit here as fans and go, well, why are these still here? You can't sell them now. You can't sell them, especially now, because one, the window isn't open, so you can't just get rid of him. And if you was to terminate their contract, let's say Casemiro is on, I think he's on £300,000 a week, right? So he earns 1.2 million a month, which is, I just call it £15 million a year. I think he's got a couple of years left on his contract. If INEOS was to go and snip his contract now, it would cost him about £30 million. So we can't just go to players and go, yeah, there you go, your contract's gone. Simple as that. We want to save money, but it's going to cost us 30 million getting rid of him. So it's difficult. And then when you go into the market, especially January, that then becomes even more difficult, because not even more difficult, but you can't sell him in the winter market. No one is going to pay their wages. No one, especially if he was performing really, really well. Thank you for the gift, by the way. Appreciate that. If he was performing really well and there was a lot of heat around him and a lot of noise and you can generate some interest, it's easier to kind of convince the team saying, you know, come in. United's best hope at the minute, and I've just been talking about Saudi, is Saudi Arabia. Is going up there with, like Oliver, saying, please, sir, can you spend some money? Can you take these players that haven't necessarily been really successful, are on a giant wage, will you take them off our hands? That's the only way you're doing it. Because I'm telling you now, there is no clubs in Europe, big clubs I'm talking about, who are going to pay for Casemiro, Antony and Rashford, pay you 30 to 50 million pound for them and pay their 300,000 pound a week wages. Not fucking happening. I'll tell you that for an absolute fact. Not happening. So I don't know how you do it. I don't know how you get rid of him. There's going to probably be a situation like we've seen with so many players at United who've been in a similar bracket on giant wages, who have just moved when they've gone on loan and we've paid half the wages. Talk about making cuts, that's what they'll probably do. They'll think, right, Marcus is on £350,000 a week, right? He's not in the squad at all, so we're not using him at all, and we're still paying him £350,000 a week. We can send him to a club, well, they'll pay £100,000 a week, which will save us £100,000 a week, which is fucking, I don't know, 4 million, 5 million, something like that a year. We can save that just by loaning him out. That's the way INEOS will think. If you look at some of the cuts they're making at the minute, I mean, someone just mentioned there the steward bonus cut as well. You know, if they're making tiny cuts like that, they'll do anything to save a bit of money at this point. So they'll probably end up sending him out on loan. That's what I think they're going to do anyway. It only did cost 11 mil to remove Erik ten Hag, not 15 as first reported, but in total it did cost 25 to get Ruben and removing the manager. Yeah, that's what I meant, the whole process. So that situation, extending his contracts, getting rid of him, and then bringing Amorim and his staff in. 20 to 25 million is what you're looking at. That's the ballpark. There are 3 clubs in Saudi that want Rashford. Let's talk about Marcus Rashford, because there was some... Andy Mitten's been speaking about him. I think there's some very interesting stuff in here. So he was on TalkSport today, which does surprise me a little bit, because Andy Mitten and TalkSport in a media world are almost like polar opposites, in my opinion. Andy Mitten, for me personally, and, you know, there's someone in myself who's been doing it, you know, only 3 years. He's been doing it fucking, I don't know, God knows how long at this point, 20 to 30 years. In my humble opinion, is probably the best journalist around Manchester United. I think that the majority of the lads, I'm not just saying it because I've had a few of them on the show, the majority of the lads from Talk of the Devils really, really good around the club in terms of getting facts, in terms of not being clickbaity with certain things, not just kind of mixing up dribble like Neil Custis does or Samuel Luckhurst or any of these guys. He gives straight facts. He's honest. And he does his due diligence as well. You know, it's a guy who will go and watch the under-18s, you know, week in, week out. He'll go and watch fucking Southend versus Port Vale. You know what I mean? Like, he'll go do his research. He'll travel to places and speak to people and do proper journalism. So when he comes out saying stuff like this, and when he's on a platform like TalkSport, it's kind of like, I don't know, it surprises me a little bit. Because TalkSport are the absolute opposite of that. They live off clickbait and heated reactions, and you know, they get idiots like Gabby Bonglehall to go in with a clipboard and get him to say a certain line because they know it's going to trigger United fans emotionally. Like they said about Ahmad the other day, he was like, oh, average player. He literally was sat there, and this is paraphrasing, I don't know word for word, but they asked him about Amad Diallo, who's clearly one of United's best players at the minute and has been all season, if anyone's even watched a shred of him, and went, I don't know, I don't see, I think he's an average player. I can't really do a good Brummie accent, but I've got the tash anyway, haven't I, for Bonglehall, but he's like, oh, I think he's an average player. I think he's an average player. And you're like, you know he's been sat and put in front of a microphone to just say, because he knows, because even myself, I get wound up thinking about it, and I'm like, oh, I just want to tell him to fuck off. And that is TalkSport's model. So I've gone a long way around about that, but I'm just saying they are polar opposites in that sense. But he was speaking on TalkSport today. He said, every previous manager has had issues with Marcus Rashford. I've spoken to them. They've told me in confidence going back years and years and years. This is a massive revelation from a trusted United journalist to say this. And you can go through him. I saw someone on X kind of responding to this and saying that's nonsense. He didn't do this under Van Gaal. He didn't do this under these coaches and da-da-da and all this kind of stuff. And actually, you go back and look at it, you think, okay, Ruben Amorim is obviously a clash there because he's not even in the matchday squad. So that's one manager. Erik ten Hag dropped him from the squad, disciplinary issues. You had the whole Belfast situation as well. So that's 2 managers. Ole Gunnar Solskjaer has openly spoken about his struggles sometimes with Rashford in an interview. So that's 3 managers. Jose Mourinho still refers to him as one of the players who shouldn't be at Manchester United. Him and Martial. That's 4 managers. Ragnick had his issues with him when he was interim manager. 5 managers. You know? Van Gaal, I can't really remember there being situations, and he was still a youngster coming through. So that might not apply there. But that's 5 managers who have had issues with him. You want to talk about history and a player repeating himself. Jadon Sancho was a similar thing, similar situation. Go back and look at Jadon Sancho's history everywhere he's been. Everywhere. From Watford days when he was playing there was coaches who say, oh, sometimes it's hard to, you know, get him up for training or just, you know, keep him interacting and focused. Same thing at Dortmund, same thing at City with Pep, which is one of the reasons why he left. Same thing at Manchester United. And he's had similar things at Chelsea as well. Maresca's dropped him a couple of times. So, you know, if it's in the player's trait, if it is a thing that they do, it's hard to get out of him. And I feel like Marcus has always been like that. Always. He also got asked if Rashford is being forced out by INEOS to save wages. He says, no, I think the manager has had a big say here. I think he's doing it his way. Ruben Amorim is a smiling assassin. He's a disciplinarian. I wouldn't even call him a smiling assassin at the moment. That smile. You remember Ruben Amorim when he first joined the club and his first couple of press conferences, how smiley and charismatic and energetic he was. Now look at him. He looks washed. He looks run down. And this is the effects that Man United have. It is stress managing this club. That cannot be understated. It is absolute fucking stress. And what he needs is the absolute backing from fans, from the board above him to make the decisions that no other manager would make or was able to make. I mean, Mourinho probably wanted to make these kind of decisions and go through a tough period, but the people above wouldn't allow him. They wouldn't allow, you know, managers to get rid of players like Martial or Pogba or Rashford, Lingard. They wouldn't allow it. They wouldn't do it. Now there's a bit of power to start doing that. And I think, you know, it's going to get more difficult before it gets better. You look at our fixtures next. I mean, it's tricky. It's tricky, people. You've seen them. Newcastle, Liverpool at Anfield, Arsenal in the FA Cup. It is going to get even more difficult and gloomy, unfortunately. Big up to Lumen in the chat. Charlie saying Barcelona have also found 100 million, so Olmo and this other guy will be registered. They also have money left over to maybe get Rashford. Not happening. Marcus Rashford is not going to Barcelona in January. Not fucking happening. Didn't Gabby say Vidic was overrated? Exactly. Yeah. Do you miss Lingard? Absolutely not. Absolutely not. He looks like a prime minister leaving number 10 after 15 years in charge. Exactly. It's stress, isn't it? It is. It's just stress. And he needs the right backing. He needs help with recruitment, bringing in the correct players. Recruitment is the biggest thing at United for me. One of the biggest red flags over the past 10 years. There's two things, actually, with our group of players at the minute, in my opinion. I think one of them, for sure, is overhyping certain players that we've got. They have a good 6 months at United, and everyone starts comparing them to world-class players and world-class centre-backs and stuff. I remember Lisandro Martínez had a good first season, and I've probably been criminal for this as well. And people start comparing him to, like, Vidic and you know, little things like that. Garnacho has a good season and saying, oh, well, it's similar to Ronaldo and things like Rashford has one good season. People are comparing him to Mbappe. They're calling him world-class, one of the best forwards in the world. And then, you know, look at him now. So the squad in itself is overhyped and it's overinflated. And where we are in the league right now, it's not... I mean, we have been unlucky in certain games, but we're in that position because we put ourselves there. Because that is what we're capable of. Individual mistakes in games, lapses in concentration, set pieces. I mean, we've considered... I found a stat yesterday, right? Listen to this. I was listening to the Athletic Roundup last night when I was trying to sleep. Let me get this stat up for you. 7 goals in 9 games conceded from set pieces. And 2 of them were Olympicos. If anyone doesn't know what Olympicos are, that is basically where you score from a corner, what Maicon did. So Mateus Cunha and Son Heung-min were the 2 players who have done Olympicos against us. It's called an Olympico because in the Olympics someone scored one, and it's just kind of stuck ever since, for anyone who didn't know that. But yeah, set pieces is a massive There's loads of stuff. But recruitment in general, and I'll kind of move into this next story now in regards to outgoings and incomings. I think this is where the big decisions need to be made, and the correct decisions as well. Because I think there are some players who fans have a bit of a sentimental attachment to and wouldn't necessarily want to get rid of. But I think, again, for long-term game, you need short-term pain. And there's players you will probably look at who, for example, Lisandro Martínez, I'll use him. When Lisandro first came, I loved him. I thought, on the ball, probably one of the best in Europe. Alongside Rafael Varane, fantastic. Ever since his injury, I've just not seen it with him. I think he struggled in more games than he's done well. You know, going forward on the ball, unbelievable, fantastic. The press resistance, the dynamic, the kind of variation in his passing, his character, I really, really like. But off the ball, channel defending, physical duels, aerial duels, I don't like it. I'm not a fan of, and I don't think you can really challenge with him in your team. There's a lot of other players, by the way, like Casemiro. When was the last time he played in this setup? He's someone who needs to be moved on. You know, you look at other players, you go into, like, I'm sorry, but obviously Malacia isn't cutting it at the minute because I know he's only just come back from injury, but he's dropped from the squad. Rashford is another one. Garnacho is someone you need to consider because Garnacho, as much as he is a talented player, like an out-and-out winger, he isn't an intelligent footballer. And whether he can adapt to this system or not, I'm not entirely sure. Rasmus Højlund for £70 million, I'm sorry, he needs to be a secondary striker. He needs to be learning off someone experienced. And that's if he'll ever become that top player. Xerxes isn't working at the moment. There's loads of players. Dalot. Everyone's wishing on a star saying Dalot he's great off the pitch. He's got great attitude, trains really well. He might train really well, he don't fucking play really well. He's average every game. There's not one thing you can point to with Diego Dalot. I feel like this is like years worth of frustrations just being vented out. But it's true. There's not one thing any of you guys can say to me or point out about Dalot that's what he's good at. That's what he's really good at. Apart from high fives, you're not allowed to have that. And that's where I struggle. You talk about, I don't know, anybody, Ødegaard, what's he good at? Those eye of the needle passes. Retention of the ball, dribbling. You can go to a list of things that he's really, really good at. Dalot, don't know. So players like this, I think, need to be moved on, but you can't do it all in one window. It's going to take years of good, solid recruitment, and that's you have to get your recruitment right and bring in talented players, because that's how you win games. Where do you reckon Rashford will go? Out on loan at the max, like I said before, at the absolute maximum. Right, let's get back into the comments on YouTube. Please do, if you can, smash a like in the video for us and subscribe to the channel. We are 251 subs off 10k. So if there's anyone on TikTok as well who want to join the Real Red Ultra community, you're more than welcome to. We also do Premier League predictions as well, which we dropped yesterday. So even if you're not a United fan, there's still content out there for you. So, yeah, check it out. John Mahoney, does Ruben have to possibly change his system? No. No, John. Do not change because of these players. I get what you're saying. You know, it's like kind of adapt for now to get it. No. Take the short-term pain. This is your system. This is your idea. This is your philosophy. Continue with it. If these players can't adapt to it, that's their fucking problem. That's what I say. Feels weird waiting until Monday. It does, doesn't it? It does. Like I said, I've not been on the channel for a while. I've been missing for a couple of days because I've been really ill over Christmas. So I feel like I've come back on today. It's the first news show that I've done, and it's just like a million things in my head that I need to get out. Greeks United, it bewildered me how Man City previously sold Julian Alvarez, yet we struggle to offload players. Chelsea sell all their unwanted players. I don't know what Julian Alvarez was on at Man City. I know they bought him from River Plate for 17 million, so I doubt he was on high wages. That would be a big factor of it. And also that he's extremely talented and probably more talented than any of the players in our team. I think that's a big factor. You know, he's young. He's someone who's, as you've already seen from him going to Atletico Madrid, he's had a big impact on him. And they'll probably say money well spent, you know. And they've got him for years to come. Whereas if we're trying to sell Rashford, who's on 3 times as much as him and on 3 times less as much output as him, do you know what I'm saying? Look at the balance of that. I have a feeling Rashford will go to the MLS because of money and he likes it in America. If Marcus Rashford goes to the MLS, that tells you everything you need to know about Marcus Rashford. Everything. That's all I'll say on that one. The other player, this is on the transfer bit as well. Despite links for the potential exit, United are not looking at solutions for Lisandro, André Onana, at least for January, and the situation is under control at the moment. They're ones that won't be priorities because they've got, I mean, they need to go and buy a wing back. They need to buy a striker. They probably need another attacker in that 10 position, like a Matheus Cunha. They probably need a midfielder alongside Ugarte because Mainoo doesn't seem to fit that role at the moment, although I think he can grow into that. There's an argument for a good few places before you start worrying about getting rid of Onana or Lisandro for me at the minute. Apparently, we've also got interest in Jobe Bellingham, obviously Jude Bellingham's brother from Sunderland. After he's been impressing the recruitment staff, there's a huge chance United materialise their interest in Bellingham and look to sign a midfielder in 2025. Now, I will hold my hands up. Usually when United are interested in a player, I will do my kind of due diligence and look into the player and see what he's about. But with Jobe, I haven't seen much of him, so I actually don't know if he's talented or if it's just a name. You know what I mean? So if there's any Sunderland fans, please do tell me. Tell me all about him. Otherwise, I'll look into him over the next couple of days and I'll give my full assessment on him. But I have to be honest, I've seen little bits of him. I don't know if he's decent or not. But that's another player. And then you've got Nuno Mendes as well, who I've not really spoken about yet because that was one of the stories that broke whilst I was off ill for a couple of days. So Nuno Mendes, I've always been on the... I mean, you look at the left-back market at the moment, it's absolutely crazy, isn't it? I think Anthony Robinson from Fulham is someone who I would definitely take and look at. Milos Kerkez at Bournemouth is another exciting player who I'd be open to joining Manchester United. Alphonso Davies is a serious talented player who I would 1,000,000% take. I like Gutierrez at Girona. The idea of Alvaro could be interesting. Nuno Mendes is the latest name from PSG. And I remember watching him in the Euros, and that guy is just a powerhouse. Like, he's rapid, he's strong, he's decent on the ball, can whip across, can play ball as well. If United are going to go get someone like that, fantastic. But again, this is like, you have to, with transfers, you have to take it with a pinch of salt, because you think, is that, in reality, we've just been talking about the cuts that INEOS have been making. Are they going to go spend 50 million on a left back and pay him 200 grand a week? It's just not going to happen, is it? It's not going to happen. If it's a summer move, that's fine. But, I mean, PSG are not just going to let him walk out the door for fuck all. I know, I'm pretty sure Ruben Amorim's coached him before at Sporting, right? So they've got a working relationship. I know Nuno Mendes has the same agent as Bruno Fernandes and Ruben Amorim. I'm pretty sure. So in terms of doing a deal, maybe that makes it a little bit more easier. And he wants to leave PSG. So Fabrice Hawkins reported this. So there's definitely something in it because Fabrice Hawkins is a decent journalist. I think Florian Plettenberg followed it up as well. But again, Florian Plettenberg's linked us with about 50 players, as people already know as well. So Nuno Mendes, good left back. I like him. I think it's a decent shout. But again, I mean, Romano keeps pushing the name Kerkez. There's loads of different people, I think. AG507. I'm seeing Man United relegated. Jesus. Pay cut because it can't see that all. Isaac's too much. Newcastle want in the region of 120 plus. Yeah, Isaac's unbelievable player. But again, it's with all due respect, look at the reality situation that we're in at the moment. How can we convince Isaac to say, I think Newcastle are 5th at the minute, right? If they beat us tomorrow, which is a bit, it's the reality of the situation, which they probably will, they'll start pushing up into some Champions League places. I know Newcastle have their situations with PSR, but even if they do decide to sell him, it's going to be very, very expensive. And also, Isaac has had his injury issues as well. Don't forget that. But if he could stay fit for a full season, I think he's probably the best striker in the Premier League. That goal that he scored against Liverpool, only world-class strikers score those kind of goals. So Isaac in the Dreamland would be great, but I don't think United are going to go anywhere near that. You made a great point. Our wage structure is astronomical. INEOS can easily sack 250 workers on low wages in the name of cost cutting. It's ridiculous. And try not to reduce players' wages. Sam, we're gonna sign Victor Osimhen. I'm not Sam. I'm Nick, but I appreciate the. I mean, we are brothers, so sometimes we can get confused. Definitely the most well-rounded striker in the league. 100%. 100%. Isaac is, yeah. He's unbelievable talent, man. And if he doesn't move in the summer, I'd be hugely surprised. I think the caliber of player that he is, he should be winning trophies. And with all due respect to Newcastle, I don't think they haven't won a trophy since what, 1956 is it or something? So yeah. Breaking news, United are cutting the funding it provides to its charitable arm as part of a purge of costs being overseen by Sir Jim Ratcliffe. United plans to inform the Manchester United Foundation it intends to curb the benefits it provides, which totals close to £1 million last year from 25 onwards. Jesus Christ. They continue the cuts, don't they? They continue the cuts. Andy Mitten is INEOS #1 fan. INEOS not for the job. Full sale only. Glazers out. INEOS out. Okay. Why go for Isaac or Victor Rasmus? Will be class and will have huge problems elsewhere. Rasmus needs time. He shouldn't. I've said this for so long now. None of those two strikers that we currently have should be starting week in, week out for us. None of them should be doing. We need a striker who is going to be is almost guaranteed like an Osman. That's what, because they get you out of situations. We'd probably be in the top half of the table if we had someone who can convert goals. You look at current top goal scorers for us. Sorry, I didn't want to knock the wire there. In the Premier League, let's have a look. It's not going to be great, is it? Because I don't know how many Rasmus and Xerxes score, but it's probably 3 or 4, I'm guessing, max. Premier League, not all competitions. Premier League. Show. Let's have a look. Alright, well, that's great, because, that's not showing me anything. 4? Why is it just showing 2 players? That's annoying. Go back. There we go. ESPN. English Premier League. Bruno Fernandes, 4 goals. Marcus Rashford, 4 goals. Joshua Zirkzee, 3 goals. Alejandro Garnacho, 3 goals. Ahmad, 2. Rasmus Højlund, 2. Rasmus Højlund, our £70 million striker, has scored 2 goals in 13 games. They should not be starting. I like Rasmus. I think he has good personality. I think he will work hard. But he has got a lot to work on. As a number 9, a lot of stuff to work on. His first touch is shocking. Absolutely shocking. That is a fundamental in just being a decent striker. Any decent striker. Go to anyone in mid-table. You go to Muniz at Fulham. First touch, class. Physicality, good. He's got all that and can finish. And Fulham have had an inconsistency with strikers. They don't have a goal scorer who can do it week in, week out. But I'm not even talking about that. I'm talking about the basics of football. He needs to improve on. Let alone starting week in, week out for Man United. The price tag isn't his fault, by the way. It's United's fault for paying that. But he, realistically, should have been bought for a similar price to what Xerxes was. 30 to 40 million. Progress striker. Have an experienced one in there who's going to deliver 20-plus goals. And then we can talk about him in a few years' time, potentially moving into that role. Not starting for us now. That's not sure. In my opinion, that's not sure. That's not how it should be. I believe. A substantial element of the support given to the foundation by the club would be axed, although Man United insiders insisted on Sunday that it would still provide significant support. Sick of hearing it's going to take time. I have no patience left for this wholeness takes time malarkey. How long have you been following United? I could show you a picture of me 4 years old in a Vodafone kit, if that's enough proof here, AG. Thank you for everyone following on TikTok as well. I would appreciate it even more if you subscribe to our YouTube channel for anyone who's in. And like I said, it's not just United content. We do Premier League predictions as well. So there's stuff for everyone. The link is in the bio. We're almost at 30k on TikTok, almost at 10k on YouTube. And appreciate every single one of you. It's gonna be interesting. The game tomorrow. We're gonna be live pre-match and post-match. If you want to get yourself ready. And also back us up a bit. There's a lot of Newcastle fans in the preview that we did yesterday. They're giving us some shit, man. So, get back at them. Let them know your opinions. If you haven't seen the preview, get yourself ready for the game. I'm going to put in... let me just... No, that's not that. That's predictions. I'm going to put the preview, or the link to the preview, in the comments for you guys, in case anyone hasn't seen it. Go check that out. And I want to get your score predictions, your team lineups, because that game against Newcastle, and this is the final thing that we'll finish on tomorrow, is a tricky one. I've watched Newcastle for the past couple of games, and they've scored around 16 goals in 5 games. Isaac is in red-hot form. Anthony Gordon looked good in the last game. They finally found that balance between Bruno Guimaraes and Sandro Tonali. It seems like Sandro Tonali is sitting deep a little bit more, and Guimaraes is exploring. They're keeping clean sheets, even though the back line isn't necessarily. They got like Dan Burn, and I think Kieran Trippier's back in the fold playing a few games. Yeah, it's an interesting game. They are like our kryptonite in a minute, Newcastle. Red hot form, decent striker, energetic, physical players like Joe Linton can hurt you off set pieces if needs be because they've got big players and they're coming to Old Trafford. And you look at the past couple of times we've played them, it's not been great, has it? So it's going to be a difficult game. And it's going to get even more difficult because Liverpool at Anfield right now is the toughest game in the Premier League. Facts. Absolute facts. There is no tougher ground you can go to than Anfield, the way they're playing at the minute. So, good luck to us. That's what I'll say. Greeks United said Happy New Year. Happy New Year to you, brother. And everyone else who's watching. Genuinely. I hope you all had a really, really good Christmas. It's nice to be back doing a news show in front of a camera where I feel comfortable speaking to you guys. So I appreciate every single one of you. I will see you before the new year, of course, because like I said, the game's on tomorrow, so we'll have the full coverage back for that again. And yeah, hopefully you all got presents from Santa, everything you wanted. Let's hope Man United deliver a present tomorrow in the form of 3 points so we can start climbing up that table. But who knows at this point. Depression United, unfortunately. Big up yourselves. My voice is going. I'm not getting emotional, just my throat's killing. Big up yourselves. Big up everyone who's interacted on TikTok and YouTube. Subscribe to the channel. Smash a like on the video. And we'll see you later on.